Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, and welcome back to another day in paradise. Yes, I am talking about the financial realm. Today, we have yet another really interesting video on a lot of different subjects surrounding economics and finance. And if you guys are enjoying them, make sure you press the like button and subscribe. Let's try to hit 750 subscribers this month. Think it should be doable. And also, these videos have no advertisements on them, so just pressing the like button is showing enough appreciation, and I really, really appreciate all of you doing that. So, expert warns Boris Johnson is extremely sick, and now I kind of want to steer these videos into a more financial related videos only, and not like global health crisis and global crisis in terms of like the sickness and whatnot, but really at some point it's inevitable to ignore, right? Because as we see here, almost all trading websites will talk about it, or at least have something related to the vid-19 on it. Reason for that being is that it's just really one of the most catastrophic, one of the biggest reasons why economies shift right now, and one of the biggest thumbs down on the markets at this point as well. Right now, though, the markets have actually been doing quite fine over the last couple of days, actually going up ridiculously much within the last day. I don't know exactly how much the percentage was, but today, maybe until a couple of hours ago, was a very, very good day. Over the month, though, it doesn't really look like it did too much, and over the 3 months, it's still actually quite negative. If you check 5 years, though, it's looking like the last couple of days have finally been showing a little bit of a recovery, but still, over a longer term, I would not say that we know what is going to be going on. And now to again come back to the point I just made, I think Boris Johnson being quote unquote sick is just another push down for all the markets, kind of showing again like, hey, all the leaders of the world, they can get sick, so you better hold on to your freaking beliefs, because there's no doubt there's no doubt it means he's sick. He might even die, theoretically speaking, is what they say in this article, kind of. And thus, the British economy might fall from this a little bit more. I mean, even if Trump were to get really, really sick right now, you would most likely see the American economy go down a little bit, deteriorate quite heavily. Logically speaking, of course, if the leader of all your decisions, in theory, goes away, then everything becomes a little bit of a chaos, right? It's pretty logical, I think. But yeah. Calm before the storm, house prices stalled in March, but the full impact of the CV outbreak is yet to filter through. Average home price in Britain sat at £240,000 last month. While the property market has been an upward trajectory, this is likely to end, and CV has said estate agents close and mortgage deals pulled. So I actually think right now is going to be the most difficult point in like the last 15 years, 12 years, 13 years to sell your home. Because a lot of people, they're either uncertain of their income, or they don't know slash are uncertain about their future or future job or current job and whatnot. They're uncertain about house prices, they're uncertain about markets, and thus one of the things they do not want to do is be stuck with a payment for the upcoming 30 or odd years. And that's also why market agents and, how do you call them, real estate agents, are going to be having some of the worst times or possibly best times in terms of percentages right now. Update: ASOS interim profit rises sevenfold, plans equity placing. Now, even though a lot is looking to be really, really bad, there's also some good news going on for quite a lot of companies. I actually noticed now. So, ASOS PLC, which is at least how I see it, a clothing company. They're just like a lot of different websites online. You can just shop there. You can buy tons of different brands. It's like an aggregator for tons of different brands, like just a kind of a shop. And I see many friends of mine also shop on there. Personally, I don't think I've ever ordered anything yet, but it's really convenient and it's simple, I would say. And thus, since a lot of people are staying home right now, they're not going to those outside stores anymore. And still, a lot of people in the beginning of a lockdown are still interested in buying clothes, and they're like, I just want to go shop, because you can't really do it physically. They buy online. And right now, these types of stocks have really been doing quite well, as of course is to be expected, since many people I decided to really go shop for it. And it was just quite interesting to see that the profit has risen sevenfold. It's really, really contradictory to the rest that we are reading about. Acting U.S. Navy Secretary offers to resign over handling of CV hit carrier. Acting U.S. Navy Secretary Thomas Modly has offered his resignation following criticism of his handling of a CV involving the or a crisis involving the captain of a CV-stricken aircraft carrier. Two U.S. officials and a congressional aide told Reuters on Tuesday. And this is actually just a question for all of y'all. Would you like me to also possibly make episodes or include in these episodes some more traditional news and whatnot? Or should I keep it to more things that really have something to do with finance? Because the only financial point that I could fetch from this is that it's also pretty obvious to me to say that a lot of people who are misjudging things or who are acting poorly will be fired from their jobs or will be kind of forced to retire or to resign and whatnot. And also, a lot of people will be resigning and retiring right now because either they've been like, let's say 63, 62, they've worked for a very long time, and they're like, I don't want to go to work where I have the chance to get sick, and I don't want to quit for the next 6 months. I'm just going to stop working all the way. And since a lot of successful companies also have a little bit of an older person as the CEO, let's say about maybe 67 as well, maybe 70 years old. I mean, Warren Buffett, for example, is a person of age, to say the least. If they were to retire, it could again change the whole management of companies quite ridiculously as well. Because I mean, I'm not just talking about only the CEO quitting, because it could be that that has no effect on the company itself. Could also have, but I'm talking about maybe a CEO, a CFO, and a CIO all quit at the same time because they're all a little bit older, or real parts of companies fall now because they're afraid of the sickness, or they're having something to do with this. Maybe they've been acting wrong and they kind of feel guilty. Maybe their whole family, is not feeling well, and then they have to act upon it. Maybe all their friends are gone now. I don't know. FCA warns scammers firms trying to exploit CV crisis. So I'm shortening it down to CV just for the sake of YouTube, like tuning it down or bussing it down. You guys know what I mean. That's why I decided to kind of abbreviate it. But right now, scamming, I think, is one of the scummiest things you could do. Many people are sitting at home, many people are afraid, and you scamming them when they're most vulnerable is, of course, what scammers like to do, but also what is most likely going to be punished the worst. Because at this point, messing with the CV on cops, for example, in the Netherlands has a pretty nasty fine, I believe, and a pretty nasty jail sentence. And nasty, I'm talking like a couple weeks, but still, for example, saying, "Hey man, don't touch me, I have corona," and you don't have it, or you spit on the cop, to go into jail for a couple of weeks just for kind of talking about your sickness. It's pretty daunting and pretty scary as well. But I think more of that will be coming as well as we roll by these months. I think we'll only get heavier for the next, I guess, couple of months as we roll by here. It will only get worse and worse and worse. And I think also that scammers will be treated worse, 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 and that the enforcement will, I guess, be a little bit less but heavier. So most likely there will be less of a task force who are going to be able to focus on it because I mean a lot is going on right now. A lot of people need help. A lot of stuff. A lot of people have stuff to do. But on the contrary, scammers are going to be up there because a lot of people are sitting home right now. So scammers are just full on warfare, and thus the attention per scammer might be less, but the effort in total and the punishments will be worse, and thus don't scam right now unless you want to really, really accept the consequences. Trump removes top CV watchdog, widens attack on inspectors general. Again, this type of stuff you need to let me know about if you want to hear it. But the reason I decided to include it was because of the more the more economic aspect of it. Washington Reuters. President Donald Trump has removed the inspectors general tasked with overseeing the government's CV response, including $2.3 trillion in economic relief. The spokeswoman for the Inspectors General Office said on Tuesday. And thus, we don't really know what this is to bring. But this guy now has been removed, and thus, maybe they want to be a little bit different with the money. Maybe they want to keep some secrets. Maybe he said some wrong things. There's a lot of speculation going on, and I don't have the official answers. I just know some fish is going on here, and want to find out more as we get to it, as we go a little bit further into it. I think more will come out though. I don't think people will let this rest, and we'll hear more as it comes out. For the rest though, this article is a little bit of a speculational piece, as it's a little bit of a question still what exactly is going on right there. But yeah, he also addressed, what did he address? The daily task force, something like that, I believe. Warning: after worldwide debt reaches 322% of GDP. The latest figures show where debt stood at the end of the last year, before the world economy was further ruined by CV. Worldwide debt has reached 322% of GDP last year, according to new figures, which will worry governments planning post-CV economic recoveries. Worldwide debt across all sectors rose by $10 trillion, or £8 trillion in 2019, to more than $255 trillion, and that was before CV-19, which forced many of the world's governments to bail out businesses and to pay workers in an effort to help them survive the pandemic. By the end of last year, global debt stood at 322% of GDP, minus, or maybe 40% points higher than the, 40% points higher than at the beginning of the 2008 financial crisis, according to the Institute of International Finance's Global Debt Monitor. The IIF forecast that the global debt burden would rise dramatically in 2020, with gross government debt issuance soaring to a record high of more than $2.1 trillion last month, more than double the average of $0.9 trillion in 2017 to 2019. A global recession is looming, the monitor said, adding that this would begin with the $87 trillion more of global debt than there was at the onset of the 2008 financial crisis. The news will worry world leaders as they continue to commit unprecedented financial stimulus to support their economies, and debt levels could climb to 342% of the GDP by the end of this year, assuming a doubling of the net government borrowing at 3% contraction in the global GDP, the monitor has said. So that's actually one of the most interesting articles of today, I think. Global debt is really going at it right now. It's going crazy. Western economies set to endure worst recession in post-war history. The US and UK economies are forecast to shrink by 5% in 2020, with China and India the only major countries expected to grow. Well, I think it's pretty obvious to state that if we were to get into a recession, it would most likely be the biggest recession we have yet to see, as, again, every time it's like, you don't know when a recession will come because people don't expect it to come, right? There's this one individual here and there. For example, if you watch The Big Short, some people will know it's going to be coming or betting on it. But even in the Big Short, you know that one of the guys almost quit because you're always kind of uncertain, right? And at almost every point, you're going to be looking to be wrong, and thus you're going to have a lot of effort, or like you need a lot of certainty in your opinion. You need to be steadfast and hold through. Because it's a lot of waiting that you have to do, and it's always uncertain. But I also believe that because people are so unknowing, and this time around everything is so digital, people get the news so quickly, and people get, I guess, their money access it so quickly and whatnot, and really have more control over everything they do in terms of the money, the buying, the sitting at home, the saving and whatnot, that the effects will be a lot worse than we've ever seen before. I mean, the 2008 crisis and whatnot, I think now the consequence will be so much bigger than then. And then a lot of people lost their homes, a lot of people lost their jobs and lost everything. Maybe now it will be way, way, way worse. At least that's what it's kind of looking like. And also, the amount of unemployed is just way higher than ever before. The amount of GDP shrinkage that's going to be happening is going to be unprecedented or never seen before. And thus, if it happens, it's going to be ridiculous. And thus, I am definitely going to be waiting it out and seeing what is to happen. I'm quite interested though, because it's looking kind of crazy. Everything's looking for the worst, and yeah, yeah. I mean, everything's kind of turning bad because of all this pandemic that's going on. House price crash on the way, warns estate agent. Of course, estate agents will tell you that because then you're going to sell your home right now. Um, so basically, what I'm saying there is, estate agents will tell you, hey, look out, your house is going to become worth less, or your house is going to become unsellable at some point in the future or in the next year or so. So better sell it now. Reason for that, of course, is that you'll call them and they can get a commission if they sell your house. And right now, since house prices might be down a little bit, the houses might be still bought, and maybe in a couple of months when people are really or when we're really in a recession, people might not really be buying houses anymore, and thus they really want to get those houses rolled out as quickly as possible, and they want to get the volumes up as crazy as they can for if they want to or are going to get without income for the next couple of months, which is pretty obvious, I would say. But the general numbers here, you can see like a 40% crash over the year or something like that. But I mean, it's kind of a thing you get with recessions, right? People will buy less of those luxurious and expensive things. Update: Investec, Amundi, and JPMorgan consider suspending dividends, reports. So, following calls from central banks to cut payouts, we'll actually hear more about this as we go further. I don't know the full info about it all, but as of yet, I think it's a little bit of a uncertain thing. Amundi has proposed suspending its 2019 dividend payment, according to a report from the Financial Times, in response to calls from the European Central Bank for banks not to pay dividends for the financial years 2019 and 2020 until at least 1 October of 2020. The proposal will be raised in the company's annual general meeting on May 12th and put a shareholders' vote, Investment Week understands. Meanwhile, JPM CEO Jamie Dimon has warned in a letter to state shareholders that if the US economy contracts by more than 35% and unemployment reaches 14%, which of course is not expected, I believe expected is 11, as a result of the pandemic, the bank's board will suspend its dividends, which it could happen. This will be the first suspension in the bank's history though, and thus it will be a pretty big deal and would most likely hurt stocks as well. JPMorgan dividend put at risk by CV pandemic, we just read that through, and UK new car sales nearly halved in March, which is also pretty obvious. And I just think car stocks might not be doing too well over the next couple of months either, because, yeah, who wants to buy a car right now, right? You're going to be stuck. So you're not going to buy a new car at least. You're going to be buying a stupid car that can drive at least, right? But that's my opinion on it all. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know if you watched all the way till the end by commenting Lego. You know, Lego, you see right here. Comment it down below if you watched all the way to the end, because these videos have no ads, so it's all just my effort, and I try to make them as well as possible. See you guys again in another finance video.